going on? Right, we've just gone live now. What is going on, everybody? We're back. Arsenal deadline transfer news, and today we're going to be just covering up the events of what's going on because it's actually quite a long day for us today. We're going to be back with you at 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. today, and that will really just focus on the last hour of the transfer window to see if we can keep up with what's actually going on and what Arsenal have done. And we'll have our summary tonight. But now we just want to talk about up-to-date developments. I was going to be on at 2, but it's moving so fast, like it's moving by the hour. Every time I look at the news, like something else has popped up, or someone's in, or someone's out, or someone might not be going, or someone might be staying. And it's just constantly changing all the time now. So, Neomis, how are you getting on? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Recovering from the weekend, enjoying a bit of life stuff away from football and Arsenal. And who would have thought a transfer windows come around so quick since July? But yeah, interesting to see how the day ends for Arsenal. So yeah.
Yeah, for real. So, guys, we are going to start off by talking about Arsenal's new signing. So Arsenal have signed Tomiyasu, a Japan international who's versatile. He's his versatile defender who can play both centre back and right back. Oh my God, Callum Chambers again. Why don't we just sign a right back? Why don't we just sign a right back? Why do we have to sign players who can play versatile positions? Like, you ever heard the saying, "Jack of all trades, master of none"?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
It just that's the very definition of Arsenal signings. And the worst thing about it is they have Cedric Soares, who's a pure right back. They've had Maitland-Niles, who's been playing right back for 3 years. And in fact, if I put hand on heart, no one has played as good as Maitland-Niles as a right back over the last 3 seasons. He's been the best, especially in Emery's team. On the winning streak, the 11-game winning streak, 22-game unbeaten streak.
Brilliant, man.
Who was the guy that was holding it down then? It's very frustrating to see what's going on. But just to again cover this guy off, he is, as I said, he's a Japanese international. And look, this is a position Arsenal are looking to strengthen, and Arsenal believe he can operate as a hybrid defender. Hybrid defender to me is a wing back and a guy who's going to be there in a 3 at the back system. So it looks like the conventional wisdom is that Arsenal may be looking to bring 3 at the back again. It definitely looks like it's on the cards. And we can't use Man City for reference because, again, there was injuries, or it was all over the place. And to put Kolasinac into that just shows you how bad things was. I don't think you're going to see that with Tomiyasu, with Ben White, with Gabriel. I think you've got the makings of a good back 3, none of which who were featured in the first 3 games of the season. So we have to kind of give this guy the benefit of the doubt. Some people are saying, no Premiership experience, none of this. But for me, I think, yes, look, you can't have your cake and eat it too. We've been crying out for a right back, and Arsenal have pretty much addressed most of the issues that they've had in the team. So what's your feelings on this signing, Neomis?
I was really surprised. I can't even pretend as though like I've heard of him or seen him play because I haven't. I don't know what exactly he's going to bring, but I checked out some clips on YouTube about him, and he looks like to be a pretty balanced player, like you said, well versatile. There were even some games from what I saw where he could even play left back and left wing back. So he's really that versatile. And it looks to me like he looks to be like a pretty solid player. If we are bringing 3 at the back, then I think that would actually fit in quite well. There were even times he could play even as centre back. So he does look like a jack of all trades. I just hope that he can at least be master of one of those, whether it's the right back, left back, or centre back. But I'm liking the signing. I like the fact that finally they've addressed it. But I just have the feeling that this is one of those reactionary ones whereby whatever plan that we had at the beginning of the transfer window has gone out the window, and now we're changing things and looking to address the problem. So I definitely think that Arsenal fans should look for look at the positives. But as I saw the Facebook user just said, kind of shirt sales in Asia will go up immediately.
That is Jimmy Jones. That is Jimmy Jones.
Jimmy Jones. Like immediately when I saw this sign, I was like, is this what they're trying to do? But like I definitely think that he's probably going to be the best Asian player that we've ever had. Like I don't think that this is a signing just to kind of promote shirt sales overall. So yeah, it's a good sign, but we have to see what he does in an Arsenal shirt. That's the most important thing. And like I said on the last stream after the Man City game, I said that it's from the next game onwards, Norwich onwards, that's going to be the real test. Not really Chelsea and City, even though I didn't think City would end as it did. Like it's the next game onwards. So I'm expecting, I'm not sure whether he's going to be training with Arsenal or if he's going to Japan on the international break. Hopefully he gets time to train, and maybe we could see 20, 30 minutes of him against Norwich would be nice. But I'm looking forward to see what he can do.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, we have 2 weeks really for the Norwich game. So for those people who aren't on international duty, I would expect two things to happen: the Aubameyang players meeting, which he talked about, and I also expect there to be a lot of footage work. And I keep saying to the guys, look, the one thing that's annoyed me over the last week is I've seen how blind a lot of people have been to the problems that have been going on at Arsenal, and I've kind of shut myself off from the Arteta out narrative, not because I support Arteta and I support this process, but because you're just not bringing nothing tangible to the table. If I'm sitting there having a conversation with guys and I'm in a forum and people are just spouting one word, which actually is a fraction of the problems that's going on in the club, and I'm tirelessly hearing that narrative, talk to me about something else. Talk to me about how we're mismanaging our money. Talk to me about how Vinay hasn't fulfilled his role since Raul Sanali left. Talk to me about Edu has not done anything since that Martinelli deal came through. Talk to me about those different things. Talk to me about the players. Talk to me that the players, once you're given instructions in the locker room and in the film room, when you put your boots on the field, as soon as your boots touch that grass, it is not down to the manager anymore. It is down to the players. It is the players' responsibility to follow what has been doing. And what I've been seeing in the matches that I've covered is they're not doing their jobs. It's as simple as that. They're not doing their jobs. And it shows a lack of discipline all round. And that is, again, pointing back to the Edu and Vinay situation where the front office just haven't got a grasp on this thing. They really haven't. We're seeing the issues. We're going to talk about Maitland-Niles in a second, but we're seeing issues where players are just screaming out to leave this club. It is almost like they're trapped here in chains. They are dying to get out. Xhaka wanted out, and they begged him to come back. Klasness wants out. Why is he still here? Joe Willock couldn't wait to leave this place. Maitland-Niles wants out. He's screaming so much that he's put a post on Instagram, which actually he shouldn't have done, and that's very unprofessional. They'll probably end up finding him for that. But the fact is, a player so desperate that he's almost like, Rapunzel trapped in a tower with this little window open, screaming at the top of his voice for help. Because it's like you'd have to feel you're in a working environment with professionalism that allows players to walk into the manager's office or the front office's office, technical director, general manager, and have a conversation with them. It's not that difficult. As a manager, my staff can come up to me and talk to me anytime about anything. Why is it that we're having these issues with these players that so many players want to leave? Willian wanted to leave so bad, he forfeited 20 million.
Exactly.
Matteo Guendouzi, we don't have to talk about him. Torreira was a guy who was laughing on social media at the club. Laughing. When they got beaten against Brentford, my man Torreira, who was still an Arsenal player, by the way, was laughing his head off at the club. Ozil, we know Ozil wanted out, but he weren't going to budge until they sorted the money thing out.
Yeah,
William Saliba wants no part of this, guys. I've been telling you this for over a year. He
yep,
doesn't want anything to do with this club.
of course.
So, look, we've just mentioned 9 players.
And the part that has to be said is, how has it gotten to this point? I get the whole thing, regime change, but the fact that Edu has and Vinay have allowed this to get out of hand, I think it's just disgraceful. Because what it means is that the, Arsenal's future is nowhere, and that's the saddest thing about it. Like, we can criticize Arteta, and I've continued to criticize him, like the teams that he set up, but giving Xhaka new deals, and just the general, like, how do you ruin so many relationships with players that they want to leave? Like, the
So,
make
it's an interesting question you've said that, because I know personally, I've been told there's a culture problem there, and the managers, the board, the front office, they know Arteta. One of Arteta's roles is to get rid of the rot. Stop this rooted poison that's been killing Emery, Wenger, and all of that stuff. To just rid it. Yeah. So I don't know whether this is a part of that. But I do know that it's something that has been happening in the club. And that's the problem. We don't actually know. And I wish that somebody would come out, whether it's, I'm not going to say Vinay, because Vinay isn't a media guy. It would have to be Edu for me. It would be Arteta's boss, because I wouldn't expect the board to come out. I wouldn't expect Josh Concrete to come out and air their dirty laundry. He doesn't run the team. He is the owner, and he's the decision maker. But there's a difference between a decision maker and someone who's actually running the daily operations of the team. And those 2 guys are Vinay and Edu. They run the team. And Arteta works for them. Yeah. So I would expect one of those 2 guys, preferably Edu, to come out on camera and explain exactly what's going on. And don't be embarrassed about it, because if you tell the truth, I would accept that. Some Arsenal fans will do whatever they want to do. Yeah, and they may take it all the wrong way. But fans like me, who understands what's going on in the club, and as a business acute into the daily run-ins of Arsenal Football Club, I need to know. And if you tell me that there's a culture problem, which I already know, but if you make it well known that there is inbred issues in the team that you're trying to root out, then that's fine. That's all I need to know. So I wouldn't be questioning all these things of what these players are doing. But we're questioning it because you're not being transparent.
I agree. And I think that I really would like to believe that the majority of Arsenal fans would feel that way, but I know that that's not the case. I remember years ago, we got beaten by Crystal Palace on the Wenger, and Theo Walcott did an interview, and he just came out and said that we weren't prepared for the game. We didn't have the right mindset. And I thought it was a breath of fresh air to actually admit that, because we'd all thought that. But he got slated on so many other different platforms for coming out and saying it. But I thought, no, he's honest about it. At least we know that it's a dressing room thing. It's not a guessing game, because right now Arsenal fans are guessing and we're just not sure. So right now we're pointing the blame at everyone else. It's and not entirely sure who is. So everybody's getting pain right now instead of maybe one person or select few. But it's gotten to a point where whatever happens, let's let it happen and let's try to build from there, because I'm tired of thinking about the worst case scenario when it comes to Arsenal and what could happen. I want things to gradually start to turn around, and if players want to leave, like Maitland-Niles, I hope he gets an opportunity to leave, because this isn't a new thing with Maitland-Niles. Like, I think it was about a month and a half ago, he did an interview with, I think it was either the Times or the Telegraph, talking about his frustrations, wanting just to have a conversation with someone about, are they going to let him go, or are they going to keep him around? And we're now at the end of August, and look at where we are. I do feel for him, but he does deserve to be punished, because this isn't the right way to do it overall.
Yeah, so let's hear from what some of our guys are saying first. Jimmy is saying no more signings after the right back. I wouldn't say that, mate. I wouldn't say that. I would probably expect one more to come in today, somebody in the midfield. We definitely need another body in the midfield. Shirt sales in Asia will rise. Yeah, they would, and we have a big presence there. And remember, we didn't do the international preseason stuff because of COVID and everything like that. William, what's going on, William? Big shout out. It says, why does he trying to look like he's on the bathroom? Yeah, so it's a strange picture there that they've released. Free at the back. This is G. No, it's not G. It's Jimmy. Jimmy's saying free at the back is the best way to go now, given the quality of the players we have. Guy looks solid. Yeah, he looks really solid. I'm not going to lie. I've only seen 2 of these games. It would be good if somebody came up who's actually watched a lot more of Serie A. But for me, I've only watched 2 of his games. And for me, guys, I got to be honest, from what I've seen, he's got a lot of upside. It's a smart piece of business, really. And the only question is how will he adapt to the Premier League? One thing is, though, Serie A is a very defensive, stout league. So, from that standpoint, he's at least got a little bit of skill behind him in that regard. And that's what we need. We need that defensive stability. But from what I've seen, it's been a joy to watch. He's solid defensively, and he's a handful in attack. A lot of these Japanese players are very busy players. They never stop running. They have a high motor, and he's no different. And he's just a handful. He's comfortable in possession on the ball. And I remember that cracking goal he scored against Milan last season. It's not bad for a defender. That goal reminded me a lot of Silvinho. But as I said, he's adaptable as a player as well. So, look, he's 22 years old. Remember, that's going into the ethos of Arsenal, spending money these days.
I agree.
It's a 16 million deal. So let us see what happens and take it from there, because we can't have it 2 ways, guys. We can't complain about the players we've got here and then complain about needing a right back. And then when we get a right back, guess what? Complain that we got a right back. We just complain all the time. We moan.
It's because he's not a name. It's because he's not a name. That's the problem, right? And see, that's the part where I'm pretty balanced. I don't have a problem with Arsenal bringing in a guy that, for the majority, Premier League fans I've never really heard of. But my thing is, there needs to be a reason. So if Arsenal bring him in, that tells me that he's at a Premier League level and that he must be a decent player at the very least. That's what I'm expecting. So when we go up and face Norwich, or Burnley coming up, I'll let the eye test speak for it. But I'm on the assumption he's a good player, not world class, but good.
Yeah, I mean the other thing that we have to remember is Tottenham made inquiries about him about 3 weeks ago, but they were also in pursuit of Emerson Royal first. So this was sort of a backup deal in case that one didn't go through. So he's had interest from West Ham, Tottenham, and from Lyon, and a team in is it Valencia? He's had his interest through quite a few teams. But what I've got, I know the deal's 25 grand a week in terms of salary. If you look here, it's gone, isn't it? I just had it up there for a second ago. Sorry about that. If you look here, it shows his salary. He was on 13,000 a week.
Wow.
but we do know there's no money in Italy. We already know that.
Yeah. So you know what, right? I mean, he's going to come to Arsenal and easily make more money than what he was doing before. So. Listen, I'm not against the deal. For me, I like it. I know a lot of Arsenal fans right now, at the bare minimum, are skeptics, and I know you're going to have the really negative ones that are going to be like not good enough. But for me, let's see what he does in an Arsenal shirt. Check him out on YouTube. I cannot stress this enough, but Arsenal fans should kind of back this. Like, we can't slate the player, and he hasn't even had an opportunity to play yet.
Yeah, true. Jimmy says his stats are better than Emerson Royal. We were just talking about that for last season. Yeah, he does look very solid. G saying White, Odegaard, Ramsdale, Lokonga, Tomiyasu, approximately 150 million. Just read that back. it's barely an Everton level window. Well, that's because, yeah, this is really harsh, guys. And this is what me and Neomis are saying about, not all of you, but some of you. It's like you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. This is very early in the development of this stage. This is like these guys' second summer transfer window. And I have to talk about, Vinay and Edu. And obviously, Arteta has a part to play in it as a seat at the table. But Arteta doesn't make transfer decisions. But what we do know is they are trying to fill so many holes. I've talked to you guys for weeks about the leaky bucket syndrome. As soon as you plug something in, another hole appears, and then before you know it, as much water as you put in is as much water that's leaking out the back end. So it's not so much as do you go and buy a Maddison or do you go and buy a Bissouma. Both of those are 70 million players. We've done it in Pepe. And what we have to learn from that is that it doesn't work, guys. It's great for the fan base that you've spent so much money. It shows you're ambitious and yada, yada, yada. But say if the guy doesn't pan out, what are you going to do?
And you know what? Those are the situations where I'd feel worse. I'd rather spend a 20 mil on this guy and he turns out to be a very good, solid player that, let's say, you could sell for like 50 in 4 years' time, like at a nice premium, rather than go spend 70 million and he just ends up being like a bang average player. Not to say that Pepe has turned out to be bang average, but I don't think that even now that he's improved, he's worth 70 million. But Arsenal fan, I definitely urge you guys, just like support the guy, at least watch him play for Arsenal first before you judge him. That's really what I would.
Jimmy agrees with you. Jimmy says, let's hope that he does well, is the main fact. And says, but has the money been mismanaged this window? To be fair, I don't think the money has been mismanaged. I think that they've done really well with the money. I think that the players that they've targeted are in positions of need. I think they probably overpaid a little bit with Ramsdale, but I understand that because of the homegrown rule that we've had to make some serious countermeasures in terms of where we are with the losses that we've had. We have to submit 8 homegrown players, and buying British players is expensive. And we didn't have a goalkeeper, and the number one goalkeeper that we have is not a great distributor of the ball. So look, Arsenal, like I said, man, Arsenal are rolling with the punches and they're having to put out fires while trying to fix this process. And unfortunately, not everyone's going to be happy with it. Jimmy's also said he's out of order for that. Is probably talking about Maitland-Niles, agreed. David says, rate the transfer window. We'll do that in tonight's show after 10 o'clock. We'll start the show at 10. Transfer window would be at 11, and then I'll get the panel to do a rating after that, David. David says, Lundberg had a problem. Everyone had a problem with the players. Emery had a problem with the players. Wenger had a problem with it. They know they got a culture issue there. And this is what I keep saying to Arsenal fans, sack Arteta, yeah, sack him. And then what happens when you bring another manager in? Managers got the same issues because you haven't dealt with the core of the problem. Yeah? You can't, but bringing in another manager is the very definition of papering over the cracks. We've seen it happen to other teams. It's happening to us. So at some point, guys, you have to take a stand. And I've tried my hardest to try and push that narrative on my channel. I know other channels have gone into meltdown and I can't really talk about them. But on this channel, you're going to get a level of positivity. You're going to get a dose of reality. Whether you can deal with it or not is not really my concern. But you know why you're here now. Got 20 people listening on YouTube, 15 people on Footy Football, and 30 people on Facebook 101. So we've got over 60, 70 listeners of the current podcast. And you guys know you're here because I will tell you, I'll give you a dose of reality. I'm not going to hide behind any of this rant and noise and try and get hits just for being popular because I don't like what's going on. I know what's going on, so I'm trying to kind of spread it in a way that it makes sense to me, and that alone is difficult, and I need your help with that, guys. I can't have you all ranting about Arteta. I need you to open your eyes and see the bigger picture and see what's actually going on. G says, Don't you guys think it's out of order for? Yeah. Again, we're coming on to that. G says, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up going with a back five this year. In some case, wow.
No, Apollo, but that's not about it. I talked about it on my videos before. Like, when we defend, we should defend with a 5, 3 center backs, and this guy at right, and Tierney or Saka at left wing back. That's
so.
How we
what
should...
is that a 3-2, a 3-5-2, or 3-2-5?
It'd be a 3-5-2. When we defend, the attacking fullbacks come back. Plus you would have a defensive midfielder in midfield, and then you have your 2 strikers, and which would be Lacazette and Aubameyang, and it's the only way to get the best out of them, or to get them on the pitch playing together, which is what Arteta and Emery and Wenger really tried to do.
Yeah. William says, so what are they doing to make it more cohesive with the training? To be honest with you, the damaging thing, William, last week was that Arsenal were pretty much the only team that had COVID problems. There was 1 or 2 cases elsewhere, but Arsenal ended up having 6 players. So that is an issue. And we know in the NFL at the moment, the American Football League, they've put their foot down. They want their league as squeaky clean as possible. And last year, the scheduling for the NFL was a nightmare. And you know the NFL, they don't cancel games. Hail, tropical storm, wind, snow, they don't cancel games, yeah? And for the fact that they had to do that cost them millions and millions of pounds. So because of that, what the NFL have done, they've said, if you guys ain't vaccinated and you turn up with COVID, we are going to fine the team. We're going to, if you can't play that week, we're going to forfeit the game to the other team so you lose. And then the player will have his salary revoked. So the NFL are hitting hard on it. The Premier League, not so much. Because a lot of people like me, when I woke up Thursday and I was like, damn, we're playing Brentford tomorrow and we got 6 cases of COVID, I thought the game was going to be cancelled. I really did. I'm not making excuses for Arsenal, but I just thought, hold on, we're going to have to field 5 players of 21 years or younger. And I was like, okay, because Brentford, we might get away with it. But Brentford beat 4 Premier League teams last season in the cup. So there was the answer, man. Vinci, big shout out to you. A lot of in Vinci. Explain yourself. Kuke says, Apollo, you called it on the Maddison deal. I did. I said to you guys, I would pull this Maddison deal apart and go and buy an attacking midfielder, a goalkeeper, and a right back. And what have Arsenal done with 70 million? Yeah, what have they done with the Maddison money? They brought in Odegaard, Ramsgate, and they brought in this wonderful talent in Tomiyasu. So I think if you would have offered me that on the table, 9 times out of 10, I would have done that deal. Vincey says, management is one thing, coaching is where you make your bread and butter, but again, you forget to mention the players on the field. So management, yes, there's a problem there with Edu and Vinay. Coaching, yes, there's a problem there with Arteta. But what happens when the players once those boots touch the grass, all the coaching and all of that is gone. It's down to the players. And unfortunately, they're getting a pass. And they got a pass with Emery, they got a pass with Wenger, and we still kind of haven't learned our lessons from it. They've got a responsibility. I'm so grateful Kevin Campbell and Daniel, Daniel Lewis, the Liverpool supporter on Sky Sports, talked about that in their podcast this week, which I sent actually on the one-on-one forums. So happy they addressed that, because it's like, thank you. Praise God. Somebody's actually opening their eyes to what's actually going on. These players are not getting it done. And that's what I saw. When I saw the lack of pressing in the Chelsea game, I was like, what on earth? This is amateur stuff. And the manager, Arteta, is on the sideline screaming at them because they're not doing what he's told them to do. And sure, in the first 10 or 15 minutes against Man City, we did see the level where that pressing was improved. But it wasn't so much as the attacking players. The defense was just awful against Man City. So you just got so much problems. And a lot of it is down to the coaching and Arteta, I agree. But the players have to go out there and the players have to do their stuff. Once they cross that white line, once they get on that grass, the players have to do a job, and they're not doing a job, and they're not getting called out for it. Jimmy says, well, Chelsea have a keeper 50 million on the bench. Yeah, Chelsea are in the Champions League. They're getting Champions League money. That money is 43 million guaranteed every year. That's why being in the Champions League is so important. But that's how it is. Paris is saying, you're not speaking sense. Arteta has no clue as a manager. Another manager, again, you're just focusing on the manager. What's going on in the front office? What's going on at the technical director? What's going on with the players? What happened to the lack of pressing, lack of picking up runners in defense? You're not mentioning any of those. So you're saying to me, I'm not speaking sense? Yeah. Arsenal, come on, you Gunners, this year saying Pepe swap deal with Arteta. Swap deal, that's funny. Vincey's saying, I believe a manager can change the culture if he's strong enough and transparent in his actions. Unfortunately, our current manager has not helped himself. And yes, you're right. You're right. He hasn't helped himself. He's made some bad decisions. He's made some mistakes. So has Edu. It's from top to bottom all the way through the team. Yeah, everywhere. The blame is everywhere, all the way through the team. And Arsenal, come on, you guys, this year says, if he's absorbed Pep's knowledge of the game, remember, it's important, guys. Arteta brought a lot of knowledge to Pep as well, and Pep made that very, very clear. There's this belief in the Arsenal fan base that Arteta went there to learn stuff, and he did, and he definitely did. And then he's come back and he's brought a lot of those philosophies to Arsenal. I would say to those type of fans, please do your research on Arteta from Barcelona's academy. Arteta was showing those tactical coaching abilities from a long way ago. And it is common knowledge among the footballing world, among the football agents and managers, that Arteta is a brainchild of the game. And he's added to what was going on in the Barcelona setup at the youth level, when he was at Everton, which is why they made him captain, when he was at Man City, when he was at Arsenal as well. I have, anyone who's followed this channel has heard me say he was our last best captain. Since Arteta was captain, none of our captains have been able to hold a candle to him. And I just haven't seen that kind of leadership. I remember when we kept getting beaten by Manchester City, and Arteta had a players meeting with Pierre Mertesacker and the rest of the guys, and he said, we are not going to follow Arsene Wenger's tactics, because every time we do that, we go up there, we get beaten on the counter-attack. We are going to go with something different. And what happened? They ended up winning 2-0 at the Etihad. And that is something, that shows you what he can do. When he came in and took over Arsenal in the first 6 months, that also showed you something he could do. He was attacking teams and dominating them at the front end. And we haven't seen that. And Arteta has to be judged for that. He's got to be judged for his poor decisions this season and last season. Yes, he's got to be judged. But at the same time, he's got to be applauded for what he's been able to achieve as well. And he's got a tough job, because if Arteta fails here, no one's going to give him a chance again. So it's important for him to excel, but we have to wait and see what happens with the front office. We've got to wait and see what happens when these players improve. And then Arteta, he has to improve his tactics, the way how he sets up the team, the team sheets. You cannot be putting guys like Kolasinac on the pitch. You can't. Kolasinac was a lost cause over a year ago. How is Kolasinac playing against the champions Manchester City when you've just sent William Saliba back to front? Well, you didn't send him. He left over his own accord. How has that been able to happen? That's been able to happen because of the rot and the culture that is inside of the club. Paris says it's Arteta. It's so obvious. Big Sam would go, oh, I don't want to see Big Sam anywhere near our club. Osman says 3-4-1-2 Leno. Anthony says, keep making excuses for those who make decisions for the starting 11 and situation won't change week to week. Yeah, change a manager and the situation still won't change, my friend. That's my belief. You know, we've seen it happen to so many managers here. Bring another one in and it's going to tear them up as well. And also, from what I'm hearing from football agents as well, is no manager wants this job. And why don't they want it? Because exactly the reasons I've been telling you guys about. Yeah, Changing the manager is going to only fix a portion of this club. You've got poison everywhere, rooted from the ground all the way through. And that's the reason why players are dying to get out of here. They are dying to leave this place. And look, I just have to wait and see what happens here. Visani says, get Arteta out, get Lampard in. Man said, get Lampard in. How did it work out for Lampard last season? Neil says, the COVID thing is an absolute joke. People cannot be forced into taking an experimental jab. It's not experimental. Remember, mRNA was started in 1963 all the way through to SARS 2020 to 2002, MERS 2007. So this is not an experimental procedure. The fact is, when you're making something like this, the science is proven. The difference is finding the strain, finding the way how the strain works, and then counteracting your vaccine to that strain. That's how you inoculate a virus like COVID-19, just like you did with SARS, just like you did with MERS, and just like you did with Ebola and smallpox, and well, not so much smallpox, but with MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, and everything. It's common knowledge how these vaccines work. But I don't want to get into that because this is an Arsenal show. Vincey says, Apollo, you say the players are trash. Yes. So Arteta doesn't get a pass, and I've said that every week. Arteta is also at fault for what's going on here. He doesn't get a pass. Nobody gets a pass. Vinay doesn't get a pass. Edu doesn't get a pass. The owners for choosing the front office doesn't get a pass, but the owners have put money into the club. So we have to be subjective. I'm not a fan of the one-sided narrative pointing to one person. I'm not a fan of that. I've made my stance clear. I've got videos up on my channel that makes my stance clear. There are multiple issues for why Arsenal are in this position. Open your eyes. It's not just the manager. The manager is part of the problem. Open your eyes, guys. Jimmy Jones said, yeah. Paris says, how did Emery get more out of these players? Emery had a better team. And I keep saying to these guys, Emery had a better team. He had Ramsey, he had Mkhitaryan, he had Torreira. Torreira was a Rockweiler for him in the midfield. He had Guendouzi. Guendouzi, one of the best, brightest talents in Europe, got into the French team. He was that season that Emery got sacked. We were third in the table after 8 games. In those 8 games, Guendouzi got 4 man of the matches. 4 in those first 8 games. Sorry, guys. So Emery was able to get the best out of them because he had better players. And then so you go from the players I just mentioned to Ceballos, Xhaka, El Nene. Yeah, that's your midfield. You go from all the, Mkhitaryan, Ramsey. Them guys get you goals. They get you assists. They create. They do everything you want. Yeah, Guendouzi. Nobody ran the socks like Guendouzi, and Guendouzi was a leader. How many players do you see at 19 years old who ran over to the manager to get instructions to give to the rest of the team? Our veterans weren't doing that. It was a 19-year-old player that was doing that. There's nobody on this team that is doing anywhere near that. The players on this team not only don't understand the tactics and look disinterested, but they wouldn't even comprehend to run over to the manager and question those tactics and try and change stuff in game. They don't have the mental capacity to do that. Yeah, Guendouzi did, and those players aren't here. What we've had over the last year is, as I said, El Nene, Xhaka, and Ceballos. That's your midfield. We can talk about Thomas Partey, but Thomas Partey ain't been fit. So until I see a fit Thomas Partey come back to play for Arsenal, where we know he can dominate midfields, then I have to just keep labeling the midfield how it is. Vasani said we need Lampard because we need attacking football and the likes of Chambers, Mari, Holding. Again, I think regardless of what Lampard's saying, the players have to have the ability to absorb a game plan. And I don't think that we haven't shown that acute yet. And I think time will go on as we get more leaders in the team and we get better players in the team. What will our team look like with Ramsdale, who is better at distribution than Leno. They're Gabriel and Ben White at centre-back, which are way better than these guys. With these guys that we're seeing are like the Keystone Cops. They're a joke, yeah? So how will that translate when you've got better defenders? How will it translate when you've got a spine? When we have someone like Thomas Partey, who's a bulldog, against someone like Sambi. Sambi pretty much been the best player for the first 2 games, and then you drop him against Man City. So how will that midfield look like? How will that spine look like if you've got a Sambi and Partey in the middle? And then I'm not really going to talk about the strikers because, you know, you fix everywhere else. You fix everything. You shore up your defense and your midfield. Then you worry about the attacking force. You can't win games if you're leaking goals at the back. So I think that we start from there and we move on. Vinci says, rebuild with the kids, sound management, tactics and standards. It suits the squad. I agree. Neil says, Arteta is bound to make mistakes as it's his first job. 100%, mate, 100%. What we are still seeing is years of buying bad players, and it's going to take a long time for us to recover. Excellent. Number one, spot on, mate, spot on. And that there, guys, is a fan who's identifying other issues in the club rather than just the manager. So that's a good shout there, bro. Kurt, what's going on? Kurt from the West Indies. Big shout out to you, my brother. Says, yo, Apollo, not been able to tune in to any sports news, just finished work. Is this the only player we're likely to get today? There was 3 targeted players. I haven't been told who the other player was. We were in talks with Leon today at about 10 a.m., but that probably didn't go well because Arsenal then came out and said that the Aouar deal is off. So there's no Aouar. So I don't think we're going to hear anything about Aouar at the moment. Jared says, big up Apollo, keep up the good work. I'm already crying because we didn't get Bissouma. Yeah, Bissouma's out of our league, my friend. 2 things on Bissouma, guys. I did want to sort of talk about Bissouma and cover it a little. The Bissouma issue is quite interesting to me because the reason why they sold Ben White is because they had 2 good centre-backs coming up from the academy. So they had replacements for Ben White and they could afford to take a punt on it. With Bissouma, they were not really looking to let him go because they don't really have a bona fide replacement for Bissouma. And that's why Bissouma has a 70 million price tag. Now, if Liverpool get that deal done today, that will be fantastic for them because he does want to play in the Champions League. But, Arsenal fans keep saying Bissouma, 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 Bissouma. But the bad thing there is that the player is Arsenal on his radar. Does he want to play for Arsenal? If he can play for the ex-champions in Liverpool and play in the Champions League, don't you think that that's a better deal for the player? And that's what I'm looking at the moment now. And it all boils down to Arsenal's lack of ability to attract quality players. And I've said this time and time again in my videos this summer, that Arsenal are shopping in a different transfer market than those top 4 teams. If, we could have got a Varane if we'd have been in the Champions League. Instead, Man United got a Varane, and for 35 million, we paid 15 million more for Ben White because Ben White's ambition was to join a team that he could challenge for a top 4 space in Arsenal. Varane wanted to challenge for a title and wanted to get in and challenge for winning a Champions League. So from the player's perspective, those are 2 different kind of ambition angles there. And unfortunately, a team like Arsenal doesn't get to choose. They could have signed Aouar in the first week of the transfer window, but Aouar was the one that sat back and said, yo, I wouldn't mind doing Arsenal, but I'd rather see what is available in the transfer window for me to play in the Champions League. David Luiz has said the same thing. I'm sure there was discussions about him being a coach here, doing his coaching badge, fulfilling the leadership role he has done here. You can see the lack of leadership without David Luiz in this team, and it is awful. It is so bad. A player that some of the fans were trashing every month. David Luiz this, David Luiz that. And all the young players were saying, he's holding it together. He showed me the ropes. He's put an arm around me. He's improved my game. He's got me mentally prepared to play 90 minutes. Who's doing that now? Who's getting these young kids prepared as on a professional level? Who's getting them mentally prepared for a game of 90 minutes? It ain't Xhaka. It ain't Aubameyang. Who is it? Who is it? So guys, seriously, I mean, I know he was talking to Benfica today, and he's a free agent, so he's not really necessarily going to count as a transfer window deal. But I would seriously be on the phone to David Luiz, and I'd offer him a pay-by-play or a 3-month or a 6-month deal to try and steady the ship here. You know, try and knock some heads together, try and galvanize these young players, because when you're getting stuff like what you see with what's happening with Willock and Niles and and Saliba, some of the young players in this team, it's like there's no direction. Edu and Arteta are just failing on that level. Yeah. Arsenal, come on, you're going to say we need to go with 3-5-2. I think that's what Neomis was saying in regards to the hybrid, and play Aubameyang and Laka together again and press hard with the midfield. Yeah, I think that would definitely work. I think that's what Neomis was saying. It's just Stephen Gerrard. Kurt's saying, could we get Overmars not to replace Edu? We probably could, but we could get a lot of players to replace a lot of them. But Josh has entrusted Edu and Vinay with their roles. And I think that as much as we have to look at Arteta failing, we have to look at these two failing. And if Arteta has to leave and get sacked, sorry, guys, then Edu and Vinay have to leave and get the sack. Sorry, one don't go without the other, because they've all been stinking up the joint. Yeah, one guy doesn't get to take the fall for this, because as I said, what has Edu done since after he brought in Martinelli? Yeah, Martinelli, thank you very much. I take it, shake your hand, give me a fist bump. Nice one, brother. Great deal. But what actually have you done since then, since the Martinelli deal? What have you done? And don't talk to me about Sambi, because that was Vincent Kompany. Yeah, so we got to judge all of these guys, man. They're all stinking up the joint. Okay, so another word about vaccines again. But guys, a lot of this is down to, if the players don't want to take the vaccine and they do catch COVID, they have to deal with the consequences. Yeah, people like me, who am very well technically astute on the subject, and I think it's too late now. I think getting into discussions about these things are gone now. I don't really get into discussions about the vaccine, because we're at a point where you have decided to take it or you haven't. And if you haven't, then you have to deal with the consequences. And what we're seeing when you have an outbreak of 6 players and all this stuff, and what the NFL's rulings are, where they're docking players' wages and teams are forfeiting games and all that, that's the next level. That if I was the Premiership, that's what I would do. If a team gets an outbreak because players didn't want to take it, and they can't play that weekend, then you're going to have a situation with what happened with Brentford and Arsenal, where Brentford are just going to blow them away because they've got all these inexperienced players on the pitch. So it's just, you just have to deal with the consequences. We're past that discussion now. Yeah, you either take it or you don't, and no one's forcing you to do anything. It's your decision whether you don't want the vaccine, and that is to be respected. But you have to deal with the consequences. Yeah, Neil saying, never isolated the virus, my friend, not approved. We'll leave it there. Didn't the FDA just approve it in the US? And it was approved by the EU over a year ago. Vince is saying, I've been 100% consistent for years on Arsenal. It's just unfolding as I've spoken. There's still more pain, but it will be better. It will improve. Dan, what's going on, Dan? Big shout out to you. It said, none of substance to be stimulated. These guys, they're still talking about the vaccine now. Another Arteta out shout there by Emmanuel. Dan says, do you think Lokonga and Partey will make a balanced midfield? Yes, I definitely do. Thomas Partey has been crying out for someone to complement him in the midfield for over a year. And Arsenal could have done it. They could have brought back Torreira. They could have played, look, as bad as people make out El Nene to be, if you look at the statistics in terms of creativity, goals, and assists, I mean, El Nene had more goals, or the same actually goals, than Ceballos, Xhaka, and Partey put together, combined. And he was a third option. He was a bit part player. So if he was doing that, imagine what he would have done if you'd have played him every game. And he's a neat and tidy player. He doesn't lose the ball and make rash decisions and get red cards like Xhaka does. So when you've got somebody who's a little bit more team friendly, and a little bit more careful in his play. And yes, you know, people talk about him hitting the ball sideways and backwards. Well, Xhaka does that too, and he doesn't get called out for it. But what we're talking about here is team stability. Xhaka just needs somebody to be able. Yeah, just give me an able body next to me, somebody who is good at the ball, has got the game mechanics down, comfortable on the counter attack. You know, not a deer in the headlights like Xhaka is on the counter attack. Just a competent player. That's all he needs. Not asking for much. And you've got this guy again. I'm one of the people who are saying I would rather take an 80 million Sambi than a 70 million Bissouma, because I believe that Sambi can. You know, Vincent Kompany said he's the next Cesc Fabregas. He's this and that. I can see that. I see it, bro. My eyes are open. This man, this Sambi Lokonga brother is the real deal. And really, that is a fantastic buy. Yeah. But again, that was from Vincent Kompany, Arteta's old friend. He picked up the phone and said, you need to look at this brother. He is the real deal. He's going to have a big future. And I think that they've done well in bringing him in. And I'm kind of happy that Xhaka won't be here for the next 3 games, because it gives us a good look at what that midfield tandem partnership is going to look like. So, yeah, I believe, Dan, that would be the way to go. More talk about the viruses here at the moment. We have to skip it over because we're nearly on an hour now and there's a lot to talk. I haven't even got into the second subject yet. London Shav says, the manager is the root of the lack of ideas, passion and goals. He's the root with the lack of ideas and possibly passion, but I definitely, it may be the goals from a tactical standpoint, but the players also, in terms of passion and goals, they have to take that on the chin as well. But you're right about the ideas. The ideas, there's 2 things, London Shaft, that really have been apparent to me, not just this season, but late last season as well. And although we had a really good record, second best in the league in the latter part of last season, what frustrates me is when you see things happen like the Chelsea game and the Man City game, and by no way did I think we could win those games, guys. Let's just be clear about it. And if any of you out there thought that we were going to beat City and Chelsea, let me know. But what I would have expected is change at halftime, some halftime adjustments. Yeah, that is what I would have expected. If you're not giving me any adjustments, then what exactly are you doing as a coach? So for me, that shows a complete ineptness from the manager, and I expect better from someone like Arteta. And I don't know why why if he didn't do that was because he just thought, look, anything I tell these guys are not listening to me anyway. So what's the point of me telling them to change anything? They're not doing what I'm telling them to do to begin with, and that was apparent. To anyone who's tactical, I talked to a lot of the guys on that level. You listen to Graham from AFTV, you listen to Daniel Lewis, as I said, Kevin Campbell, you listen to people who know their tactics. The players were not getting it done. And look at the sidelines, how crazy Arteta was. Arteta's pulling his hair out of his head, because when he gives them the sign to push and press, only one player's going up to do that. And pressing is something that is unison. And not only is it unison, but you have to order your shape. You were trained to do this on the training ground. That when the front players push up, the midfield has to push up and the back line push up so you can keep that compact, tight space. They weren't doing that. And they had all kinds of, it was like Swiss cheese, all holes in the team, no shape. And quality teams like Chelsea and Man City just pick you off at will. They expose you. So the tactics, some of the tactics are there, guys, but the players' ability and discipline to follow those tactics is completely out the window. I mean, some of the defending against Manchester City was god awful, and that's, I'm not making excuses up for Arteta, but that's possibly why we didn't see any adjustments. But nevertheless, I still have to say it. Yeah, I have to say it as I see it. If you don't make adjustments at halftime, then that's on you as the manager. You have to change something. If a player is stinking up the joint, if you have both your centre-backs on yellow cards and you have a guy like Klasnic in there, get him off the pitch. Change it. Do something. Yeah? Don't, because it just looks like you're standing up there lifting up your skirts. That's what it looks like. And the guys on the panel mentioned as well, in terms of the 2 games I talked about, Chelsea and Man City, we knew we were going to lose. but we just wanted to see a bit of fight. Where was the fight? In the first 10, 15 minutes of the Man City game, we saw that fight. We looked really good going up front, pressing at the top and trying to control the game and dominate. And the defenders just stunk up the joint, man. Goal after goal after goal. And you got to feel for these players up front when you're a Saka, when you're a Smith Rowe, when you're Odegaard, and you're young, and you're trying to help the team, and you're doing your part. And then you look at these guys at the back end who have been at the team for years, and they're just letting goals in like nothing. And you're just thinking, oh God. And once your head drops, that's it. The passion, the energy, the discipline, the desire, all of that goes. It just drops out the window. And then Saka had that issue where he had the penalty and they didn't give it. And it was just like, it was dead after that. Kurt saying, my background is Barbados, but I'm UK born and living currently not far from you in Hendon. Yeah, you're not far from me in Hendon. I'm in Bournemouth, Elstree, home to the youth team and Arsenal ladies as well. So, and just around the corner from the training ground at London Coney. Paris says, we potentially have a Varane, Saliba. Yeah. I mean, you know, the thing about the Saliba issue, I talk about it with the Guendouzi issue. When you're a manager, find a way for it to work. Because when I manage my staff, if I have someone who has an issue or if somebody hasn't worked out, I take part of blame for that. Because if I have a player that ends up like a Guendouzi or a Saliba, then I turn around and say to my managers, in this instance, my managers would be Edu and my managers would be Vinay and then the big boss, Josh Kroenke. I would turn around and say to them, guys, look, we failed the player because the player had all these issues and all these insecurities and all these different things going on the mental level. And we know he can play because, look, if you don't have to go back to what he was doing at Saint Etienne. This was 2 years ago when the man was playing the likes of Mbappe and marking him off the pitch. That was 2 years ago. So how am I still sending this guy out on loan saying he ain't ready yet? If you've taken an Mbappe out of the game 2 years ago when he was playing for Saint Etienne. How have we come from there to this? So if I'm the manager, I'm actually asking myself a question to say, have we actually done our best to develop a player, to develop a Guendouzi, to develop a Saliba? We have to take the onus. We have to take the blame that we have failed those players and we have let them down. Yeah? But I don't see any of that accountability from Arsenal. I don't. Yeah? I'd like them to be a little bit more transparent. Not all transparent, but I'd like for them to be open about something. And that's why I miss those Arsenal Supporters Trust meetings with Wenger and Gazidis when they used to sit down in front of us every January and talk about forecasts and financial years and all these, all these different things in the club and transfer budgets and all this. And I say to Arsenal fans all the time, we were spoilt rotten then. We had it good. Because we had a table where we could converse with the front office. So no, there's no teams that are really talking to their fans on that level. Arsenal had it good with that setup. And now what they've done is they've just taken, the front office has taken a stance with other teams take. They don't talk to the fans. They don't bring you at the table. They don't give any level of transparency. And that kind of hurts at the moment for Arsenal because we had that and now we don't have that and we don't know what's going on. And every time we see something like what happens with, let's have a look, with the Maitland-Niles situation, when we have a situation like with Maitland-Niles, this guy is screaming and crying to get out of the club. They all are. Yeah? Saliba wanted to leave here. Torreira didn't want nothing to do with what was going on. Guendouzi was never coming back. Willian gave up 20 million to leave this mess. Yeah, Willock didn't even think twice. The only thing that Willock was concerned about was, are they going to pay him what he wanted? He wanted to go. He never made that. You know, Xhaka was halfway through the front door, and then they pulled him back in again. Man wanted to leave, didn't want nothing to go. He already. This is the joke here, guys. This is a joke. Saliba, yeah, after all of what happened to him. And don't want to be here, Xhaka got his personal terms done with Roma. That's how desperate he was to go. He didn't even care about the fee. He was like, look, whatever it is, the fee is whatever. Just get me out of here. Yeah. Just like them ITV shows. Yeah. I'm an Arsenal player. Get me out of here. Yeah. The man just is like, just get me out of the front door. And they reeled him back in. Yeah. And guys, when you look at this club and you look at where they are at the moment, you can't be shocked with the results. You can't be shocked with the league position. You can't, because it's so bad that the players who you're trying to develop, like Maitland-Niles, this guy broke into the England team. He was your Rockweiler in that FA Cup run. The man took Mahrez, Sterling, Mane, Salah. Yeah, he took on all those players, marked them out of the game. Marked them out of the game. Got into the England team because of those accolades. And you didn't even play him for 6 months, to the point where the guy went out on loan. And let's be fair, guys. We all talked about Joe Willock on loan and how he was a boss. But I'm a big Ainsley Maitland-Niles fan. I'm a big fan of the player. But what actually, if I have to be real, what actually did he do when he was out on loan with West Brom? What did he actually do? He had some solid games, but he didn't set the world alight. So, and if he did, he would have been one of those players like Joe Willock that teams were begging to sign. No one's begging to sign him right now. Yeah, that 25 million that Wolves put up for him last summer, we ain't seeing that with Ainsley Maitland-Niles right now. So, in that respect, we have to take some onus of the blame of what's going on with these players. And what's the time? The time is 4 o'clock. So he's currently in a meeting with Arteta now as we speak, because this was a 4 o'clock meeting today with the player. And in that meeting, they have to resolve this issue. And whether they let the player go or whether they keep him, they have to do something, because they haven't been very clear in what they want. They've kept the player and done nothing with him. So what? Do you want me to go? Do you want me to stay? Which one is it? Yeah, tell me, because the player don't know. The player plays for Arsenal and he don't know. Even now, guys, he has not taken down his Instagram post. It's still up there. If you go to his Instagram page, the post is still up there. He's crying for help. So, yeah, that's really all I want to say on that. With the Aouar situation, guys, if you've just joined the stream, the Aouar situation is that Arsenal spoke to the club 10 o'clock this morning, and whatever happened in that meeting has forced Arsenal to just pull out of the deal. And I don't know, maybe they wanted some guarantees that or something. I don't know what they wanted, but if they weren't interested in the player, then they wouldn't have attended that meeting. That's what I'm saying. They obviously did have a level of interest, but whatever happened, they've now said that they're not interested in a while. So, guys, so my question to Arsenal is, how are you not interested in a guy you've been after for the last 18 months? He was your #1 target last summer. So what happened? He's still productive. What he had? 4 goals, 8 assists. He's still productive. So for me, guys, Arsenal are moving on. So the next one, guys, is Hector Bellerin. As we know, Bellerin right now, as we speak, is going up to have his medical. And I just want to say, is a big fan of Vince's as well. I just want to say, well done. Real Betis is his boyhood club. So he's set to join them on loan. This doesn't have an option to buy as well. So he's having a medical today. So look forward to him announcing that he's going to be gone later on today. Next player is Reece Nelson. Reece Nelson, guys, is also on his way to Feyenoord on a seasons-long loan. And out of all the players, I was saying that he's the one that needs the loan. Because, you know, we know what Saliba can do. We know what Maitland-Niles can do. We know what Nketiah can do. Those guys just need games. But this guy, we don't know what he can do. This guy hasn't had much game time. So do you have a Joe Willock in him? Do you have a oh my God, let me use that word, Craig Eastwood. Do you have a Craig Eastwood in him, or do you have a Joe Willock? Nobody knows. So he should have gone out on loan 12 months ago. Now he's gone on loan. Let's see what he can do. Yeah. We can only wish him the best. And I'm really going to keep an eye on him. Remember, guys, when he went to Germany, he had 6 goals in his first 7 games when he was on loan. And he got a bit homesick. He started turning up late to practice, yada, yada, yada. And he let himself down. So that was when he was at a young age. Obviously, he's 21 now, going on to 22. So he's more experienced, knows what the expectations are, has looked after his body, kept in shape. Now, the platform's there for you to go out and perform. Eddie, what have you done for me? Now, I've always been a big fan of Nketiah, as you guys know. And for me, the player is probably on that list of the Xhakas and the Willocks, the Niles, the Willian, the Guendouzi, Torreira, Saliba. He's just one of those players right now that wants to leave. Yeah, he's just one of them players that, like, I just had enough, man. I don't even care anymore. I just want to play football. So if you're going to play me, fine, great, fantastic. If you're not going to play me, then send me over to someone who will. And Crystal Palace now, as the talks have broken down, they've gone into Edouard from Celtic, so they're closing on that deal today. So Nketiah is expected to stay at Arsenal, and be good to hear what you guys think of that. You guys are really busy in the chat at the moment. Vasani says Reece Nelson is the next Alex Iwobi, and look, that's not bad because Alex Iwobi was rated a 40 million player. Yeah, and I can see when I see Everton play. He had an assist last week in the first week. He's a good creative player for Everton. So if you can be that, that's all we can ask. So I wouldn't mind. Janssen says, here's what I don't get with Arteta. Maitland-Niles is the best right back. 100% agree, bro. 100% agree. He's the best right back. And let me just change that for a second. And I don't know what he does in training that makes Arteta think otherwise. Yeah, I think it's a good question. And one has to say that something that he's probably done previously before has made the coaching staff fall out of love with him. But I have to even challenge that, because if you've fallen out of love with him, why don't you let him go? Yeah. You wanted to go to Wolves, you blocked it, and you could have got good money for it. I mean, that 25 million now for Maitland-Niles, that looked like money. That looked like gold on a tree. Yeah, that looks like money in the bank right now. And you couldn't get 15 million for this player in terms of Maitland-Niles. So do they really want him? Is that what they're telling him right now? So we know the meeting started at 4 o'clock. So they've had 10 minutes of chat. Keep an eye out on social media, guys, to find out what is going to happen with Maitland-Niles today. But if it means he's going to stay, then play him at right back. He hasn't got a problem playing at right back. We know that it was a big media lie saying he didn't want to play right back and all of that and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes as a fan, when you see things like that happen with Hector Bellerin used to see all this stuff going on in social media. And what did Hector Bellerin do? Hector Bellerin will come out on his Instagram account and say, guys, that's not true. This is what it's like. And sometimes players need to do that. And I know there are certain rules that they have to abide by with the team, certain NDAs and all this stuff. But for someone like Maitland-Niles, you can put on your social media account, I love being a right back. I love playing in the midfield. I just want to play for Arsenal. Yeah. You can say, the fact that it wasn't widely said and it's only just come out now has probably worked against them. Yeah. Fans want you to be passionate. Fans want honesty. They want transparency. It's nice when you hear some of the players say some of the things that they do, because we want to know. We want to support you. If you want us to support you, tell us something. Give us some love. That's what fans are like. Fans are all ears, man. We know how close Aubameyang got with Troops. and a couple of other players, and you know, we know there's a lot of sneaky stuff going around on with his contract and all that stuff, and it was all fun and games. But at the end of the day, he loves being at Arsenal, and I would be frustrated if I was Aubameyang, and it's not all his fault. I mean, he isn't the leader that we want him to be, but is that really down to him? We have a tendency to give the captaincy to players who are leaving. Yeah, which how many teams does that? How many teams in the league gives something so precious as an Arsenal captaincy to players who want to leave? So it's just everything about us guys is just kind of rotten to the core. And that's the reason why some of these players want to get out of there. But if Eddie stays, I hope we see some good things from Eddie Nketiah. And I honestly hope that we can do something with the player, and that his form will shine, because he's always scored goals. And I mentioned that time when we played West Ham, you know, Fulham, he came back, we were losing 1-0, 82nd minute. He came on and scored and got us the draw against West Ham when he took over Lacazette's position. It was his goal that won us the game. So Arsenal fans have a tendency of saying he's never done it for the club, and actually he has. Yeah. When we had that run up in Arteta's first 6 months, when he took the position and he was playing up front and he was pressing, him and Maitland-Niles was consistently, tirelessly pressing the back line and forcing teams like Liverpool and Man City into errors. And we were going on that great run to the FA Cup. He was involved in that. He was. So when we're talking about issues like this, and guys, by the way, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button so you can follow all of our podcasts and everything that I upload onto the channel. But when you look at something like that, you want players that work that hard, tirelessly. And I said to my guys the other week when we were on the panel, the guys like Torreira, the guys like Guendouzi, Maitland-Niles, Nketiah, when those guys walk off the pitch, they've got blood scars, scratches, tongue hanging out their mouth, all mash up because of what they've given you for 90 minutes. How many players in our team now are giving you that kind of commitment over 90 minutes? Yeah? How many players? If, hand on heart, I would probably say Saka, Smith Rowe, and maybe Tierney. Yeah? Those guys, I would say, sweat blood for the team. Braveheart style. Yeah? Mel Gibson, Braveheart style. Man like that sweat blood all day long. Every game, 90 minutes, every minute of the game, every week, you can depend on those players. But the other guys aren't doing it. They're not working hard. And how many times, Vasani says, yeah, Neil and Vasanis both said they would rather play Balogun than Nketiah. But the problem with that is you've seen from the first couple of games what Balogun's like. He's a very inexperienced player, not great first touch, still learning his trade holding up the ball, still needs work on his positioning. Nketiah's got all that down to a T. Nketiah is one of the hardest working guys off the ball. Yeah, his positioning is probably one of the best on the team. That's why he scores all of his goals in the box. How many times have you seen over the last few weeks Arsenal cross the ball into the box and nobody's been on the end of it? And you got a fox in the box right there in Nketiah. Yeah. So while you guys are saying Balogun is there and he may have a higher ceiling, but he ain't there yet, and he's definitely not at Nketiah's level yet. But he could be, and I've said this for a few weeks. You need somebody with the work rate and defensive ability of Nketiah, the hold-up play of Lacazette, and the goal threat of Aubameyang. That's what we need. Is Balogun that? No, he isn't. Is Martinelli that? Probably Martinelli is. But again, Martinelli would need games as the anchor man up front. I would rather play Martinelli at the point than Balogun all day long. Balogun, to me, he's just turned 19, and I don't know what you do with a player like that, because you're not in the Europa League qualifying stages, and every game counts now, because you got to win the FA Cup, you got to win the League Cup, you got to do everything to try to get back into Europe. So can you take a punt on playing young players like an Aziz, Mark McGuinness, all these academy players? Can you take a punt on the Reece Nelsons and all that stuff? You probably can't. So that's the reason why we're seeing those players go out on loan. So if I was to be totally honest with Balogun, I would probably prefer it if he went out on loan. Yeah, that's my opinion. You guys probably might think otherwise. Vasani is saying Odegaard's 2 when he was with us on loan, always running. Yeah, Odegaard tirelessly running. And remember when I showed you those stats last week, I said Odegaard was second in the team in winning possession back in the final third. So in that regard, we know that Martin Odegaard, who's second in the team in possession one in the final third, second in assisted chances on the team, first in final third balls into attacking zone, first in the team in that, and first in the team chances created. So all of those statistics showed us that we needed to get Odegaard back. No two ways back. Because nobody, if you were top in the team and you only play for half a season, what does that say about the rest of the players? What does that say about all them players who play for the full season? So Vincey says as well, Balogun looks to get his shot off early and just needs to relax with his. Yeah, he needs a lot of training, a lot of addition to his skill set. He needs a lot of that. Ken says, poor O or Isak. Yeah, I'll take Isak in a heartbeat. Bro, that Isak deal, I would do that in a heartbeat. And you know what? Nobody signed him yet. They gave him a 60 million tag. And I think that 60 million scared off a lot of people because that's a lot of money. People ain't got... The only teams that have got that kind of money is in the Premier League. I don't see anybody in Spain spending that money. I don't see anybody in Italy. Italy, Juventus couldn't even afford Locatelli. Yeah, Locatelli was peanut money. And what they had to do to get that deal done was daylight robbery. Yeah, them guys were scraping the bottom of the barrel when they bought Locatelli. Yeah, Germany, they ain't got that money in Germany. They definitely ain't got no money in France. So when I see that 60 million for Isak, that's only going to happen in the Premier League. So I would expect the only team that can do that is City, because City is the only one that doesn't really have a striker. So, but you know, Jesus, do they like what he's doing in the team? Maybe. Is that going to be enough to take them to where they need? I'm not sure. But United have gone out and got a striker. Chelsea went out and bought a striker. Liverpool have got bare strikers. And they don't really have a true striker. I mean, Firmino is really their guy, and he's a master at hold-up play. But their strength comes from the midfield and the attacking front three. And it's beautiful because it all happens as one unit. Vincey says, Nketiah has to work too hard to compensate for the midfield. Yeah. Always in the midfield doing his work. And he says Nketiah needs fluid midfield to play to his talents. He needs guys like Fabregas, Nasri, Kleb, Rosicky, guys who turn their head, spot the pass, and then bang. Or guys who see the pass, pick up the ball, and then bang, whip it because they know where it's going to go. Our build-up play with the likes of Xhaka is too slow. Too slow. El Nene, Xhaka, too slow. The sideways and the backways is happening because you can't envision what's happening ahead of you. Yeah? It's happening because you're not seeing the passing lanes on the flanks. You're not seeing the runs being made through the middle. You're not seeing those angles. So as a Xhaka and an El Nene, you're holding up the play. You're slowing everything down because you can't see it. You're going back to the side and you're going backwards. Those days, Pepe's already made his runs. Saka's made 2 or 3 runs. Odegaard's been in space for a hot minute and you ain't giving him the ball yet. So that's where Arsenal needs to change. And I'm hoping with a Sambi Partey midfield that you'll be able to get that. So Alex is saying, do you think we will sign someone? Yeah, I think there might be one more signing on for tonight. we'll see when we come back tonight at 10 o'clock how that's going to kind of settle off and play out. But I definitely expect an attacking midfielder because we still need help in that area. What we've got probably isn't enough. So I would still expect to see maybe another two guys go out on loan, including Maitland-Niles. But I definitely would expect us to see one more player. But if we don't see another player in, and that's our transfer window, then they haven't done too badly, have they? 150 million spent. Odegaard, Ramsdale, Tavares, Ben White, Sambi, and and we've got Tomiyasu. We're here with us as well. So it's not a bad transfer window, and I think that they've had to do their due diligence in filling holes. As I said, this team is putting out fires. That's what they're doing, because it's been broken for a long, long time. Ever since Wenger, Emery, Ljungberg, and Arteta is the only one that's come in. Credit to him. He's the only one out of those managers in the last 15 years who's put a spine into the team. A Ben White, a Gabriel, and a Thomas Partey, that's a spine. That is a spine. If you had a spine when you had a Fabregas, a Nasri, a Rosicky, a Kleb, a Robin van Persie, if you had a spine in that team, you would have won the league. And Van Persie says that. Bakary Sagna says that. They all say, all those players say the same thing. They had the best midfield in the league with those guys. And you had Robin van Persie. But your defense was trash. And your goalie was Manuel Almunia. Where is he now? Does anybody know what Manuel Almunia is doing right now? Does anybody know where he's playing? Nobody cares. Yeah? Because Wenger never got that right. And Arteta's brought in a spine, but it just takes time. You bring in a spine, and right now, everyone's pulling their hair out. Arteta out, Arteta out, Arteta out. Where was that spine in the first 3 games? You had no Ben White, no Gabriel, no Thomas Partey. Give it time, guys. Give it a little bit of time, yeah? And we see where we are when we come back against Norwich. Give it a little bit of time, guys. Have a bit of patience. Give it a bit of time. Get behind the team. Before I go, let me answer this last question. It says, what is Arsenal's objective this season? Transfer business like this? No, top four talk is madness, mate. Objective is top 6. 6th place, 5th place, that's their objective. That's it. That's where they need to be right now. And so that's where I would expect them to be and to finish. And Alex is saying the same question as well. Do I expect anyone to sign? Tomiyasu? Yeah, I expect another signing as well. And how much is the contract? It's pretty good. It's he was getting 13 grand a week wages to his previous club, and he's on 25 grand a week with us. So we've essentially doubled his wages, and it's good money for someone of his skill talent. I tell you, he's going to surprise a few people. He'll really surprise a few people. CJ saying we'll finish the bottom half. Yeah, we'll just have to see what's going to happen with that, mate. So, guys, look, thanks for tuning in. We're going to be back again at 10 o'clock tonight. Those of you who are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. If you're not on our Facebook forum, the description is in this video underneath. The Facebook page, please hit that and join us for chats. You can talk to me all day long. I'm on there, so is the rest of the guys. We talk about Arsenal. It's non-stop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, around the clock on our forum. And I'll see you guys at 10 o'clock tonight. Have a good one, guys. And hopefully we've got some more good news for you later on today. Speak soon, man. Peace out.